Hey, this is the Big Hardcore Gamer, and as you know, this has been a really good year for gaming. At the time of making this video, I've completed 22 games so far this year, with 17 of them being released in 2025. I've played some good games, some great games, and some really disappointing games. But the question is, which games will make it into my top 10 list for the year? Before I get started, there are some rules. The game must have released this year, and I must have beaten the game so that I've received a completion trophy or achievement, or rolled credits if playing on a launcher that doesn't have trophies or achievements. And for live service games, I need to have put in at least 50 hours for it to be considered. So because of this, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Avowed, Black Ops 7, Hollow Knight Silksong, Chronos The New Dawn, and Where Winds Meet are not on this list. As always, the order that games are arranged in this list is not just because of how good they are, but also because of my enjoyment. Please watch to the end and leave it a like if you enjoyed the video. Right, let's get started. Starting off at number 10 is Dispatch, a game that wasn't even on my radar for most of the year, but I decided to check it out to see what all the hype was about, and I'm glad I did. Imagine calling your emergency services, but instead of asking for the police, a superhero will be sent out to you instead. That's Dispatch. You play as Robert Robinson, a washed up superhero who, after the events at the beginning of the game, takes the job as a dispatcher at a superhero organization, managing a team of ex-supervillains. This is basically in the style of a Telltale game, but with some very funny adult humor. I streamed the game live, and there were some parts that really had me cracking up on stream. The dialogue was well written, especially the banter between characters. Jeffrey Wright was hilarious as Chase, and I was really surprised that Aaron Paul didn't get a nomination for his best performance for his role as Robert Robertson. The dispatch gameplay, where you have to assign different superheroes to each emergency, actually wasn't bad. It became quite addictive. It gradually gets more challenging as you go through the game, and you have to try and match the superhero's strengths with the emergency. This game was also a nice palate cleanser after all the challenging action games I've played this year. Dispatch is definitely a game that I'd recommend checking out. At number 9 is Doom: The Dark Ages. In this prequel to Doom 2016, the Doomslayer is being used as a weapon by the Night Sentinels in a battle against the forces of hell. Takes place in a medieval setting with some cool, unique weapons that were a lot of fun to use. I don't think there's another game out there that has a gun that uses skulls as ammunition. As always, the gunplay was excellent, as you'd expect from a Doom game, as it's the granddaddy of first-person shooters. The Titan battles were fun, even though there wasn't much to them and they were kind of short, and the performance was well optimized for PC and ran damn near flawless. My issues that I had with the game, is that it felt a bit like a downgrade from Doom Eternal. It felt easier and slower paced in comparison. It didn't have the same adrenaline pumping action that was in Eternal, and went overboard with the accessibility options to the point that it made it feel a bit too easy. It's still a good game and may actually be a good starting point for newcomers to the franchise, so definitely worth checking out. At number 8 is Metal Eden. Now, if anyone had told me at the start of the year that I'd enjoy a AA first-person shooter more than Doom: The Dark Ages, I would have said you've been smoking crack. But here we are. Metal Eden is a cyberpunk sci-fi FPS where the consciousness of humans have been transferred into cores in an attempt at immortality. You play as a hyper unit, which is basically an elite android soldier that's been sent on a suicide mission to the city of Mobius to rescue these cores. To be honest with you, I really didn't care about the story for this one. I mentally checked out after a few hours. This one is an example of gameplay is king. The gameplay is extremely fast paced and adrenaline pumping. It's basically like if you took all the gunplay from Doom Eternal and the traversal from Ghost Runner and they basically had a baby. It would create this game. This is a gem that I think a lot of people missed out on because of the stacked release schedule, around its release date. This released a week after Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater and a couple days before Hollow Knight Silksong. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people watching this video that have no idea about this game because they never heard of it. I definitely recommend checking it out if you're into fast-paced first-person shooters. Now, I just said that gameplay is king, but at number 7 is the exception to the rule. Mafia of the Old Country is a game where the combat is serviceable, but it's the story that really had me hooked. Set in Sicily in the early 1900s, you play as Enzo Ferrara, a teenage labourer that escapes the mines and is taken in by the powerful Teresi family. The story follows his journey from a mine boy to a made man, and a love story that everyone who played this game knew just wasn't going to end well. The writing was fantastic, and I don't understand how it didn't get a nomination for Best Narrative at the Game Awards, just like how I couldn't understand how Johnny Santiago didn't get nominated for his performance as Don Teresi. To be honest, the entire cast did a fantastic job, whether it was friends that they really made me care about, or evil villains that I looked forward to when they'd get what was coming to them. There were also some pretty cool set pieces that I really wasn't expecting. Also, this game looked beautiful. You can probably pick this game up at a decent price during the winter sale, so you should definitely check this one out. I also did a Let's Play series for this game on my channel, so also go and take a look at that. At number 6 is Battlefield 6. This isn't on the list because of the single player campaign, which was okay but nothing spectacular. This is on the list for the multiplayer, which is what everyone really bought this game for. At the time of making this video, I've put in over 70 hours into this game, with 6 or 7 of those being spent on the campaign. The gunplay combined with destruction makes every match feel like you're in a summer blockbuster action movie. From buildings being destroyed around you, to getting into battles with tanks, to destroying choppers and seeing them crash into buildings you're fighting around. You never know what's going to happen when playing, and there's always opportunities to create some unique, only in Battlefield moments. Objective modes like Rush, where you have to push forward and plant or defuse bombs, can get tense, and it's always been my favourite mode since Bad Company 2. I also loved Escalation mode, which is basically a modified version of Conquest, but it's with a twist. As you progress through the mode, objectives are removed from the map. They also released the Red Sec Battle Royale mode, which, to be honest with you, I'm not really a fan of because there's no solo mode, and I get annoyed when playing with randoms in this mode really quickly. But this also came with Gauntlet mode, which has been a lot of fun. In Gauntlet, there are 8 squads, each competing against each other over 4 rounds of objectives. Teams are eliminated after each round until there's only 2 squads left to battle it out. This is a mode that I've enjoyed playing a lot. It was great to finally get some competition for Call of Duty this year, and it's managed to cure me of my COD addiction. And now we have the Battle of the Souls-likes. At number 5 is Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. You play as Bei Wu Chang in an alternate late Ming Dynasty China. Wu Chang has amnesia and is infected with a supernatural plague called the Feathering, which turns people into monsters. The combat is fun and challenging, with each weapon having its own unique abilities. While the skill tree looked intimidating at first, the majority of the upgrades were linked to your chosen weapon, and you could respec them whenever you want to. There was an option for parrying if enabled through the skill tree, but dodging was the best option for most of the enemies and bosses. Also, there were a lot of really fun and challenging boss fights. Every area linked in some way, as I found out when I started unlocking shortcuts and found that it was just one really big connected world. and the outfits were really detailed. There were some performance issues at first, which were later fixed, and I was a little disappointed with the final boss, but apart from that, this was a really fun and challenging game that I recommend for anyone that enjoys Souls-likes. At number 4 is the other Souls-like that I beat this year, the first Berserker, Kazan. You play as Kazan, a general who has been betrayed and framed for treason. He makes a pact with a spirit named the Blade Phantom that gives him the power to take on those that betrayed him. This was a very challenging game from early on. This is one where you need to master your parrying, but some enemies will force you to both use dodge and parries because they will add elemental damage to attacks. For example, when facing the Volcano boss, you'll add fire to attacks which cause you to burn if you try to parry them. The combat was amazing. Enemies hit hard and fast and don't just wait their turn, and so it forces you to master your chosen weapon and all the abilities they give you. There are only 3 weapon types to choose from, but you can dump all your skill points into your chosen weapon and create some great combos. The parrying was extremely precise, which it needed to be because of how much parrying is required in this game. The reason why I placed this higher than Wu Chang is for the boss fights, which I thought were just better. They are extremely challenging and will definitely make you rage, but as tough as they are, they're actually still fair. You just have to learn them. Learn the attack combos so that you can get the parry timings right. Learn which attacks need to be dodged rather than parried. Learn the attack animations so that you know when a boss is about to try some bullshit. Basically, I didn't encounter a boss that I could just cheese my way out of it. And the final boss was just epic. If you make the right choice towards the end, the final boss turns into a 3-stage battle instead of 2 stages. It was brutal and definitely had me raging, but was the most satisfying victory of the year. If you like a good challenge, I definitely recommend checking this one out. Now, before I get into my top 3, I want to go through some honourable mentions that didn't quite make it into the top 10. First is South of Midnight. You play as Azor Flood, a young woman in the deep south that's trying to save her mother after their house has been swept away during a hurricane. She discovers that, she's a weaver that can mend broken spirits and starts battling these creatures from southern folklore called Haints. It had a decent story and a really good soundtrack. The music actually tells the story as you approach each boss fight. My issue with this game was that I didn't find the combat fun. I hope that the game does well when it releases on PS5 and Switch next year, and they end up doing a sequel, and hopefully they improve the combat in the sequel. Next is Alien Rogue Incursion Evolved Edition, which is the standard version of the VR Alien game. You play as Zula Endrix, a colonial marine who's investigating a distress call at a facility on the planet Perdan. It doesn't take long before she realizes that the facility is overrun by xenomorphs. I'm going to be completely honest. This game scared the shit out of me. These xenomorphs are extremely sneaky and almost gave me a heart attack on multiple occasions. When playing it, you could tell that it was really designed for VR, but they still did a good job of converting it to standard gaming. It ended on a cliffhanger, so hopefully we get a part 2 soon. Plus, I also did a Let's Play series on my channel, so go and check that out. And finally, it's Chronos The New Dawn. If I had managed to get this game completed on time, it may have ended up in my top 10. This is a survival horror game where you play as a traveller on a mission to try and stop an event called The Change, a disease that turns humans into these monsters called orphans. She battles through these monsters to find rifts, to find time rifts where she can travel back in time to 1980s Poland to extract key individuals who may be able to reverse the event. The game is heavily inspired by Dead Space, but is also really tough with the resource management. Your storage space is very limited at the start, and even when upgrading it, it will only give you like an extra one slot at a time, which is brutal considering weapons take up slots as well. You can craft ammo and healing items on the go, but most items share the same resources needed to craft them. So I was often deciding whether I should craft ammo to get through an area, healing items because I was low on health, or incendiary ammo, which was also essential in this game. In Dead Space it was cut off their limbs. In Chronos it's don't let them merge, because orphans will merge with dead orphans on the ground to turn into a much stronger version, so you need to burn the bodies. There are no difficulty options to choose from at the time of making this video, so everybody plays on hard and gets the same experience. I love this, but we know this is probably going to get changed. They'll probably get pressure to add in difficulty options later. I'm about halfway through the game at the time of making this video, but I would definitely recommend it from what I've played so far. Now it's time for my top 3 games of the year, and all 3 are heavy hitters. At number 3 is Death Stranding 2 on the beach. You play as Sam, a delivery man in a post-apocalyptic world, delivering packages to facilities because between the rain, which will age you, the bandits, which will rob you, and the BTs, which will straight up kill you, the world is just too dangerous for regular people to be outside. After the events of the first game, Sam is now living a peaceful life with Lou in Mexico until Fragile recruits him to reconnect Mexico to the Cairo network and also Australia. Trust me, it will make sense when you play it. I completed the first game the day before this released, and straight away I noticed all the quality of life improvements from the first game. The shooting was much better, and the combat overall was a lot more fun. Stealth was actually a valid option in this game, and I spent a lot of time sneaking around enemy camps and silently dealing with them. The guns no longer drain your blood like they did in the first game, and often use multi-purpose ammo that deal with both humans and BT enemies. You're incentivized to do these optional deliveries because they can give you cool new weapons or upgrades that will make your life much easier. And there are even new ways to deal with BTs, with weapons like blood boomerangs and a grenade that lets you capture a beaten BT so that you can use it later to fight other BTs. You get vehicles very early in the game, and a whole lot of tools that allow you to play the game however you want to play it. It's also one of the most visually stunning games I've played this year, with some parts looking photorealistic. There are parts of the game where I just had to stop and say that Kojima Productions were just flexing when showing what they can do with the Decima engine, especially during the first mission where you have to deal with Neil. The fact that this game looked and ran this good on the base 5-year-old day one OG PS5 was incredible. There are practically no loading times, and didn't notice any frame drops during some of the most graphically intensive sequences. The different biomes look amazing when you get to Australia, and you have to deal with weather effects like forest fires, avalanches and sandstorms. There's a lot of attention to detail in this game. You'll visually see sunburn on Sam when he's resting in his room, and also frostbite. The engine also manages to capture the subtleties in the face animations. There are some amazing performances from the cast, especially from Troy Baker as Higgs. Speaking of Higgs, one of my complaints from the first game was that the Higgs fight at the end was trash. In Death Stranding 2, they improved it a lot. It still wasn't a difficult boss fight, but it's one of the coolest sequences in the game. I'm not going to say what it is because you really need to experience it for yourself. The only negative I had was that because you're given everything so early, traversal through the environment did feel really easy compared to the traversal in the first game that was brutally difficult at times. I found that I had a lot of equipment that I just didn't need to use because I could simply drive to a destination in my vehicle. There was even a facility across the water in one area that I was able to just scan the water and walk through the shallow parts to get there. It seemed that they overcorrected on the traversal, on the difficulty of traversal. If they make a third game, they need to find a good difficulty balance between the first and second game. Now, don't be put off from this game by people who want to say that it's just a walking simulator, because it's definitely isn't just that. It's part action game, part stealth game, part sci-fi horror, part delivery simulator. To be honest with you, the delivery part of the game can be one of the most relaxing parts of the game. You plan your routes, can put on some music from the amazing soundtrack using the new music player in the game that allows you to play through playlists and just go and deliver your packages. It's definitely one that I would recommend checking out. And at the time of making this video, there's a trial available in PS Plus Premium that lets you play through the first 5 hours of the game. And during this trial, you can get to chapter 3 and have a good understanding of what the gameplay is like, get a good understanding of the story, and even deal with a boss fight. If you're not sold after the 5 hours, then this game just isn't for you. But if it is, you can add another amazing game to your list of games to play. At number 2 is Expedition 33. Now, every year a paintress awakens to paint a number on a canvas, and anyone that age dies. Think of it as a yearly Thanos snap. So you play as members of Expedition 33 who are on a mission to kill the paintress before she can paint their number. I absolutely love this game. I loved the story, and there were definitely some great twists that I never saw coming, and it kept me wanting to know how they were going to complete this seemingly impossible task of killing the paintress. Some great characters. Luna's my favourite. Excellent performances from the entire cast. It was a beautiful game that was well optimized for PC, but what I really loved in this game was the combat. What I loved about the combat in this game is the addition of the parry mechanic. Although there's also dodging in this game, parrying is so essential that I'm not sure if you can complete the game on the hardest difficulty without it. Parrying refills your AP, that allows you to use your skills, but parrying every attack in a combo will also result in a devastating counter-attack. On top of that, some enemies are so tough that they can one-shot kill you if you miss a parry, but you can one-shot kill them if you do a counter-attack, or at the very least cause a great deal of damage. Plus, you have the pictos, which add bonuses like allowing you to heal when performing a counter attack, or applying burn when doing free aim and shooting. Once fully unlocked, you can use Lumina points to permanently apply them to a character and also apply it to multiple characters. I thought this was a great system for creating builds. If you haven't played Expedition 33, I definitely recommend checking it out. I know some people may be put off by it being turn-based, but the parry makes a lot of difference. If you have Game Pass, you can check it out there if you're not sure, but you'll probably be able to pick it up at a great price during the sales. If you've been following my channel, there should be no surprise which game is at number 1. Of course it's going to be Ghost of Yotei. Yeah. Alright, so this game is set around 300 years after the events of Ghost of Tsushima. You play as Atsu, a woman that's returned to Esso after 16 years to avenge the death of her family by hunting their murderers, the Yote 6. It has one of the coldest openings to a video game that I've seen, with you writing the names of each target on a ribbon before heading into town to take on your first target. This is a game where I just got completely lost in the side content, just like everyone else. In fact, I don't think I went after the second member of Yote 6 until I was like 25 or 30 hours into the game, because the side content was so damn good. I'd be riding my horse and just bump into a random NPC, and when interacting with them would discover a new mission or place of interest that I should check out. Or I would just pull out my spyglass and look around and notice a strange looking tree, go over there and find another side mission or a jewel. The bounties are also really good. I was expecting them to just be a case of go find the target and kill them, but that wasn't always the case. Some definitely deserve to die, while some add their own tragic story, like the woman who'd gone mad after the death of her baby, or the woman who'd been sold to a samurai and killed him after being abused. While some just warned Atsu of how things were going to turn out for her if she continued down her path as a mercenary. The side missions were a lot of fun and often reward you with a charm or new piece of armor. I liked the switch to new weapons, which you would switch to in battle instead of stances, and you have to be trained with each weapon before you fully unlock it, which I thought was a nice touch. When going into each region to take on a Yote 6 member, you get to see how they've affected the region that they're ruling. So when you're doing each mission in that area, Atsu isn't just getting closer to their target, but is also helping the people in that region. At the start of the game, she's consumed by grief and hell-bent on revenge, and the flashbacks give you a good understanding of why these people really do need to die. But you gradually see her character develop as she realizes that she may actually have something to live for after she has gotten her revenge. There are some excellent performances from the cast. Erika Ishii gave a great performance as Atsu, and Atsu, to be honest with you, is actually a pretty good character. She can be ruthless. I mean, as a woman, she comes across as someone that feels she needs, that she has something she needs to prove, and there are definitely a lot of you shouldn't have been talking shit moments when these thugs think that she's going to be a pushover because she's a woman. She can also be very funny at times, and I love how drinking sake will actually fill up her spirit gauge like she's some kind of alcoholic. Another stand-up performance came from Jenny Bolle. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but she plays Oyuki, and the game is stunning. At times it looks like a painting that's come to life when you're riding your horse through the land and you'll see like other wildlife, you know, riding alongside you, and the music is amazing. I switched on Watanabe mode for the lo-fi beats, and it was so good that I honestly couldn't tell you what the standard music sounds like anymore because I never switched it off. And I also switched on Mickey mode for the increased blood and mud, and was getting some serious blood drenching that would make Dexter Morgan love this game. And it performed really well on the base PS5. Throughout my 89-hour playthrough, I only encountered a couple bugs. Both were when the game wouldn't progress after completing a mission, and I needed to reload the last checkpoints, which always fixed it. Ghost of Yote is definitely my game of the year, and I recommend you checking it out if you haven't already. This video was so much more difficult to make than last year's because I played so many great games. 2026 looks like it's going to be even crazier than this year, so make sure you watch my top 10 most anticipated games of 2026 video when it gets uploaded. Also, leave your top 5 games of the year in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave it a like and leave it a hype if you can see the button. And if you're new to the channel, click the subscribe button and check out some other content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.